10万块钱彩礼，但是呢，昨天我闺蜜跟我说让我再加10万去试探一下我老公对我是不是真心的。没想到我跟我老公一提呢，然后他就说要跟我分手，这婚他不跟我结了。我真的是很无语，然后我就跟他说了，我说我只是想要试探一下你，但是我老公他就当真了，他说现在这个婚他不愿意跟我结了，他说真正的感情是不能去试探的，有些事情你一试探的话，他就是没有办法挽回了，那我现在该怎么办啊？
After watching this video, I wonder how everyone in front of the screen feels. For me, my first reaction is, some women are really both stupid and mean. Where does the stupidity come from? The most obvious part is that these women love to listen to their besties' advice. You should know that the saying, guard against fire, theft, and besties is not baseless. Many besties give you so-called bad advice with a simple motive. They want you to break up with your boyfriend or husband. Once your relationship falls apart, they secretly gloat, thinking, now that you're single, I feel so much better. Worse yet, they may have their eyes on your partner and use such tricks to ruin your relationship, creating an opportunity for themselves. This kind of plastic sisterhood among besties is far too common in real life. However, some women can't distinguish between good and bad intentions and mistakenly believe that their bestie is looking out for them. For instance, some women might follow their bestie's suggestion and demand an additional 100,000 yuan in bride price from their boyfriend to test his sincerity. Such an idea is simply baffling. First of all, using money to measure the depth of feelings is inherently an absurd logic. If money can be used to test sincerity, then how should women prove their sincerity to their boyfriends? If a woman is stingy and unwilling to contribute anything, does that mean she's insincere? Such a test not only lacks meaning, but also makes people lose confidence in the idea of marriage. Secondly, from a rational perspective, such bottomless behavior only makes others question your character and trustworthiness. Arbitrary price hikes, exorbitant demands, and opportunistic behaviors during such tests can make others feel disgusted and even repelled. Therefore, it's entirely understandable if your boyfriend chooses not to marry you. This behavior neither respects the relationship nor demonstrates genuine sincerity and is far from trustworthy. Now, let's talk about the mean part. On the surface, asking for an extra 100,000 yuan may seem like just a test. But in reality, the psychology behind such behavior deserves greater scrutiny. If the boyfriend agrees to pay the 100,000 yuan, the woman may develop a misconception, believing that she has complete control over him. Consequently, she may become more demanding, potentially requiring the man to hand over his salary card after marriage or placing all his income under her control. Such a mentality is clearly unhealthy and exposes a sense of greed and a desire for control. Based on the above analysis, I have always emphasized that men must have their own principles and boundaries when dating, in relationships, or even in marriage. If you are a man without principles and agree to all a woman's demands blindly, it may appear as though you are being a good man. In reality, this behavior is the most foolish. You may feel touched by your own efforts, but such behavior could make the woman secretly despise you. This is because human nature is complex, and sometimes women's psychology leans towards testing limits. When a woman realizes you have no boundaries and she can make any request, not only will she exploit you, but she may gradually lose respect for you. Therefore, everyone in front of the screen, please improve your emotional intelligence. Learn to understand women's psychology and human nature, and grasp the principles of maintaining a healthy relationship between men and women. This is not only a way to protect yourself, but also a key to building a solid and loving relationship. What do you think about this phenomenon? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section.
不要申请个小号就勾搭自己的男人去试探他。
Women should never apply for a secondary account to approach their man in order to test him, and even less so should they use money to test a woman's feelings. Such behavior is inherently unethical and rarely brings any positive outcomes. Many women not only test their men but also fail to post anything on the account's moments or set a profile picture. What does that even mean? Do you think men will fall for someone just because they're a person? Isn't that underestimating men too much? If you want to test a man, please at least put some effort into it. At the very least, post a few pictures of internet celebrities or upload some beautiful photos. If you don't even bother with basic packaging, how could anyone possibly be tempted? They might not even know whether you are male or female. What's the point of such a test? Once again, let me remind all my sisters, if you still want to keep eating a bowl of noodles, don't throw trash into it. If you insist on dumping a pile of dirty stuff into the bowl and then force yourself to eat it, aren't you just disgusting yourself? Think clearly. If you are already completely disappointed in your man and don't want to live with him anymore, then I support you letting go and decisively ending the relationship. But if you still want to live a good life with him, don't create problems out of nothing and stir up trouble by testing him. Such behavior, once started, is often the beginning of the destruction of your relationship, and the result will inevitably be one test and it's over.
这个男人呢是经不起考验的。
Most men cannot withstand being tested. If you keep trying to probe, test, or evaluate him again and again, whether to see if he truly loves you or really cares about you, this approach will likely scare him away. Understand one fact. Many women enjoy expressing their emotions by stirring things up. They may think, if I create trouble for you and you still love me, that proves your love for me is genuine. But for men, such constant tests and challenges can feel overwhelming. Men are generally not good at enduring endless trials. Over time, he may feel that being with you is too exhausting, too annoying, and that this marriage has become too heavy to bear. Eventually, he might choose to leave. What kind of role does your husband play in a marriage? Many people mistakenly believe that marriage means, once you're married, a man must unconditionally love you for the rest of his life, no matter what you do or how much trouble you cause. But the truth is, it's not like that. Your husband is not someone who will stay by your side forever without complaints. He is someone who can choose to leave you at any time. Marriage is actually very fragile. It's not as perfect as you might imagine. Don't think you can keep testing him repeatedly, and he will still love you unconditionally. This idea is wrong because most men cannot endure such constant tests. Remember, your partner is someone who can leave you under certain circumstances. If the marriage becomes too heavy, filled with threats, oppression, or even guilt, he will instinctively want to escape. He may feel that this kind of relationship doesn't bring lightness or happiness but instead makes him deeply tired, without value or meaning. In such a marriage, he won't want to keep giving. He may feel that he has invested a lot in this relationship but hasn't received any returns, so he might choose to give up and look for another woman who makes him feel light and happy, no longer willing to invest in you. So, ladies, do you understand now? You are inherently worthy of love and don't need to test men to prove it. You don't have to do anything. You are still worthy of love. Stop testing men, and don't doubt your value anymore. You are a person of significance and worth, someone who naturally deserves to be cherished and loved. Please remember this deeply, okay?
你们说跟闺蜜走得太近是好事吗？
Do you think being too close to a bestie is a good thing? My husband always praises my bestie in front of me. One day, I finally couldn't hold back and directly asked him, "Do you like my bestie?" He was stunned. He didn't answer immediately, and my mind was a complete mess. I must admit, my bestie is indeed very beautiful and has a cheerful personality. Every time we go out for a meal, she insists on paying the bill. She has always been kind to me and my family, and we've been close friends for many years. Just how close are we? Back when we were both dating, we'd help each other pick out potential partners. Luckily for me, my husband turned out to be okay. As for her husband, after 5 years of marriage, he cheated on her. When my bestie found out, she decisively chose to divorce him. Every time my husband talks about my bestie, he's always full of emotion, saying, "Your bestie is such a great woman. It's a pity her husband didn't cherish her." At first, I didn't think much of it because I also believe she's a good person. But later, I noticed that whenever he mentioned her, he would wear this regretful and sympathetic expression, which made me feel very uneasy. Since my bestie's divorce, I often invite her over to my house to help ease her loneliness. Our kids are about the same age, both girls, and they get along well. When my bestie and I chat, sometimes my husband joins in. Whenever he does, he seems unusually lively and energetic, always cracking jokes that make her laugh out loud. Although I'm there too, I always feel like those jokes aren't meant for me, they're meant for her. At home, he's usually so quiet, barely saying a word. One time we were talking about my bestie again, and my husband had that same empathetic look on his face, sighing, "Your bestie is truly a wonderful woman. It's a shame she didn't meet a good man." I couldn't hold back any longer and asked him, "Do you like my bestie?" The moment those words came out, his face changed drastically. He quickly denied it, saying, "What nonsense are you talking about? She's your bestie." I trust my bestie to have boundaries. She wouldn't do something like stealing my husband. But when it comes to my husband, I'm not so sure. After all, many men are led by their desires. And if two people spend a lot of time together, developing feelings isn't impossible. For the first time, I realized it might be necessary to keep some distance from my bestie. She can't be such a frequent presence in my life. Since then, I've started to subtly resist my bestie coming to my house. But she doesn't seem to notice and still drops by as often as before, often bringing food to share. Sometimes, she arrives even before I get home. My husband eagerly opens the door for her, and she goes straight to the kitchen to cook. By the time I get home, there's usually a table full of steaming dishes already prepared. Each time, I want to say something to my bestie, but when I see her clean and straightforward gaze, I can't bring myself to speak. And my husband, in such situations, seems to be thoroughly enjoying himself. His attitude makes me even more uneasy. Now, I truly don't know what to do. I don't want to lose such a long-time friend, but I also don't want to lose my intact family. How should I tell my bestie that we need to keep a bit of distance? Or how should I handle this situation? I hope you can give me some advice.
你知道毒闺蜜是怎么毁掉你们夫妻感情的吗？
Do you know how a toxic bestie can ruin your marriage? Yesterday, I received a private message from a woman who shared her story, and it was truly thought-provoking. She has been married to her husband for 3 years, and their relationship had always been good. However, ever since she met a new bestie, she found herself gradually becoming dissatisfied with her husband. This bestie, who is divorced, often told her, "Men are unreliable. You should be more cautious." She also frequently remarked, "Your husband really got lucky marrying you. With your qualities, you could easily find someone better than him." At first, she just listened without thinking much of it. But gradually, these words started to take root in her mind. She began to feel that her husband indeed seemed unworthy of her. Although he treated her well, he had never bought her any expensive gifts. This used to not bother her, but after her bestie pointed it out, she started to feel a bit embarrassed. Later, she and her husband began arguing over these matters, and one time, it even escalated into a big fight. Not long ago, her bestie introduced her to a new male friend. She would occasionally chat with this friend, but her husband found the chat records. He was furious, lost his temper, and took their child back to his hometown. Her father also scolded her harshly, saying she was blinded by stupidity. She couldn't help but wonder, had she truly done something wrong? At this point, I can't help but sigh. Some toxic besties can truly cause significant harm, even destroying a happy family. There's a saying, beware of fire, theft, and besties, and it's absolutely true. Some originally harmonious families are thrown into chaos because of meddlesome besties. What's worse, some women actually believe their toxic besties' words, start nitpicking their husbands, and focus only on their faults, completely ignoring their boundaries. You need to realize that your marriage is your life, not your bestie's. Why let an outsider dictate your family's dynamics? Toxic besties might simply be jealous of your happiness. They can't stand seeing you live better than them, so they subtly sow discord and create trouble in your marriage. Even if you end up divorced, they might pretend to comfort you on the surface, while secretly mocking you behind your back. Marriage is a matter between two people, just like how only you know whether a pair of shoes fits comfortably. Why let your bestie interfere in your personal life? If a so-called good bestie constantly belittles your husband and says you deserve someone better, you should carefully evaluate whether this person is truly worth your trust and whether they harbor ill intentions. Don't let a toxic bestie ruin your family happiness. Your marriage is your own responsibility. Don't let anyone else cast a shadow over it. Ultimately, The ones who suffer the most will be you and your child. Remember, marriage is your own life. Don't let any outsider interfere with it.
In romantic relationships, many people fail to maintain a healthy relationship because they have a terrible habit. They constantly test and probe their partner. They feel insecure inside and act cautiously, but their partner often cannot understand their true needs. Such behavior unknowingly sets up numerous barriers for the relationship and even leads to its breakdown. For example, some girls send messages not to communicate, but to test how quickly their partner replies. If the response is quick, they may feel temporarily reassured. But if it's slow, they start to doubt whether their partner cares about them enough. Another example is when some girls give their boyfriends gifts, not simply to make them happy, but with the expectation that their boyfriend will reciprocate with something of greater value. If their boyfriend's reaction does not meet their expectations, they feel anxious and may resort to even more exaggerated means to continue testing. One of my friends made a similar mistake. Once, to test her boyfriend's feelings for her, she deliberately told him that someone new was pursuing her, hoping to observe his reaction to verify his level of concern. As a result, her boyfriend became angry, feeling that she was not being loyal and was even giving other men opportunities. Later, this relationship naturally came to an end. In reality, human nature cannot withstand such tests and probes. This behavior not only fails to help the relationship, but also causes both parties to feel hurt. More importantly, when a man realizes he is being tested, he will feel repelled because your behavior indirectly tells him that you neither trust nor value him. If you feel anxious and insecure in a relationship, instead of using tests to seek answers, it is better to honestly express your true thoughts. Remember, testing will only be the beginning of the relationship's collapse. Do you agree with my opinion? Feel free to leave your comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot to us, and we will continue to provide you with better content. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.